I'm Sarah Avery, like Dr. Lanzi said, and I am a sophomore pre-nursing major at UAB. I've been very passionate about mental health for a long time, so I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be a mental health ambassador. And so I want to take a minute to let our other presenters introduce themselves as well. So Christina, I guess if you want to go ahead.
Yes, I'm Christina Ndolo, and I'm a senior in the School of Public Health, minoring in Community Health and Human Services. And like Sarah, I'm also very passionate about mental health and spreading mental health awareness. So if you guys need anything, or is there any way that we can help you guys out, then just let us know, and we're happy to be here.
So I'm Jamila Zamir. I am a senior in the School of Public Health, getting my concentration in global health. I am a mental health ambassador, and I think self-care is one of the most important things of mental health. And so I hope through this presentation, you guys get something from it. And if you guys have any questions or anything, let us know.
Well,
Thank you. And I think Elise joined. Elise, are you there?
Hi, yes. I'm Elise. I'm a sophomore in immunology, and I'm in the honors college, and I'm a mental health ambassador through that. So it's great to see y'all, even though we're very physically distant. Hope y'all have a good rest of the week after this presentation.
And I see that Joanna joined too. Joanna, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, this is Joanna Carson. I am a recent undergraduate from the School of Arts and Sciences, and I am very proud to be a part of this Mental Health Ambassadors program. And I'm also here to help in any way I can.
Well, all right, thank you. So we'll keep on going. So what is self-care, which is the whole premise of the presentation, as I'm sure you've gathered. So we all have very different ideas of self-care, but especially when we're staying at home, it's very crucial to have things that preserve our mental well-being. So through this presentation, we're going to discuss some typical ideas of self-care, but we would also kind of like to challenge your ideas of self-care, if you don't mind, and give you some new tips and tricks and ideas. And all that to use during these, really uncertain, very unprecedented times. So, and that leads us to typical ideas of self-care. So I would argue that when most people think of self-care, we think a lot about the activities that are surface level. So that would be like doing a face mask or taking a bath with a new bath bomb. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with these activities. And a lot of times they're very important parts of our self-care regimen, but there's definitely a lot more to it than that, what we want to talk about today. And so a lot of effective forms of self-care are nowhere near as glamorous as a nice bubble bath, but they are extremely necessary. And so examples of this include taking your medications properly and getting out of bed and going outside, even if it's just for a minute, and attending class, even if they're online, getting all your assignments completed and everything like that. Not as fun as a nice face mask, but definitely very necessary and very essential to our well-being.
Okay, Self-Care 101. So self-care is intentionally taking care of your well-being through restorative activities that promote healthy functioning. One of the greatest threats to our physical and emotional well-being is stress. Stress can impact our mood, immune system, and energy level. Maintaining your psychological health and emotional hygiene are crucial in healthy lifestyles. Self-care is a behavior that is taught or learned, keeping in mind not to favor the body over the mind, which often happens. For example, if you were to fall down and scrape your knee, you may be given a bandage. But if you were to tell your parents that you were feeling depressed, their response may be, "Oh, shake it off. You'll be all right. Just pray about it." It is time we close the gap between our physical and psychological health. Okay. So what does self-care look like every day? We should deliberately create time for self-care daily. This may look like moments of being still and silent, and while doing this, you can achieve positive thinking that will last throughout your day. What we're putting in our bodies, such as sugar, alcohol, tobacco, excessive caffeine, and processed food, can affect our well-being to not live up to our full potential. Exercise of any movement is great. You don't need a fancy gym or a trainer, and just 10 minutes a day can make a difference. Unplugging from social media and the news, especially during these times, is a great way to practice self-care. Reading a book that interests you, and learning how to say no to anything that is unsettling or that brings about healthy behaviors. Getting to the root of what's causing stress and eliminating those stressors. And if you cannot eliminate those stressors, then create healthy ways to cope with them are also ideas of creating self-care every day.
Okay, so setting boundaries. A good way to practice self-care is setting boundaries. Boundaries are crucial for everyone. If a friend guilts you into giving them your time and energy that you need for yourself, it's okay to remind yourself that they are not your responsibility. You can gently remind your friend that you need to take time for yourself. And because you need to take time for yourself, we can't, help anyone else if we're not taking time for ourselves. So it's okay if you take time and set boundaries, or even say no, which leads me to my next slide. So if that same friend is asking to hang out, you have every right to say no, regardless of the reason behind it. Maybe you're tired, or maybe you just need some alone time to participate in your self-care activities, benefiting your well-being. Saying no does not need any reasoning of why. And saying no even helps set boundaries, making it a possibility that is a very important step in setting boundaries.
It can be hard to add self-care to your daily life, but here's some tips for that. First is to create a plan. This can be things like regularly scheduled meal times or a bedtime, setting a specific time for no technology every day, or limiting time on certain apps like news and social media. Next is to keep trying. Even if you miss a day or two, go back to your plan. It'll help your mental health, even if you're still missing a couple of days, even if it's not 100% regular, everything helps. Next is to reflect on your plan. For instance, you may want to change the bedtime you scheduled to incorporate more to read at night, or change an exercise activity to something that works better for you. The point is that your self-care needs to be the best thing for your mental health.
Okay, self-care tips while staying at home. While this has been an incredibly challenging time for all of us, it is important for each of us to practice social distancing, and not just for ourselves, but for vulnerable populations such as the elderly and people who are immunocompromised. Self-care ideas for staying at home could be carving out time for self-reflecting, staying connected with support groups through FaceTiming and phone calls, and finding new ways to stay engaged. Many of us are working from home for schoolwork, and it is also important for us to avoid overworking ourselves and taking small breaks, such as getting some fresh air as needed. It's important to note that taking a break from social media and social media platforms and the news is important as well. Lastly, after a long day of work, we encourage you to spend time with family to unwind. A better you creates a better environment for yourself and for those around you.
So, depending on how many people you're physically distancing with, some people might be alone, some people might have a full house. So you can adapt your strategies to either block off some time for yourself or spend more time with other people, like FaceTiming your friends and family if you're not near them, or getting music recommendations from your friends. I know Spotify lets you follow your friends so you can see what they're listening to if y'all are both on the platform. Getting outside helps. If you go for a walk around your street, you can say hi to your neighbors if you know them, or you can set up a chair and a speaker outside and just get some sunlight. Another option is bring some plants inside. If you live on the coast, you could get some shells and make a terrarium, or you can use branches if you've got dead trees. And then once you're inside, if you clean, or when you're cleaning or organizing your space, you could light a candle or some incense that you like and just make it nicer for yourself while you're inside.
So we would like to give just sort of a reminder that self-care is very different for everyone. So just because it works for your friend's brother's cousin's girlfriend's dog does not guarantee that it will work for you. And that can be very frustrating, but it just takes some trial and error. And you kind of just have to keep trying until you find your thing. And then that also leads us to when and how to seek help. So hopefully you got something out of the presentation, out of our tips and tricks, but sometimes performing self-care just isn't enough. And so if you're having any kind of thoughts of suicide or harming yourself or feelings of hopelessness or any kind of overwhelming anxiety, we really do encourage you to kind of seek help right away, and that can be very important. But also it is important to note that you don't have to be in a crisis to reach out for help. Early intervention and prevention, just at the early signs of problems, can save lives. So we would like to make sure we reinforce that idea that help doesn't only come from crisis. And then you have, so when to seek help, how do you seek help after you've decided that you want help? So we've kind of compiled a list of resources that are offered, especially during, the pandemic and everything. And, how can I seek help when I can't go to my normal therapist or anything like that? So we have a link up at the top for UAB Student Counseling Services, and that link has everything under the sun that UAB is doing to support mental health, and we're very thankful for them. And so we would like to talk about TAO Self-Help is therapy assisted online, and it's free for UAB students. All you need is a UAB email and password, and it provides a lot of support and resources for those in any kind of need of support. And then there's also distance counseling, which is for new and already established clients. So if you're not already established as a client at the UAB Student Counseling, that's no problem. You just have to leave a voicemail and it will go straight to their email and they'll get back to you very quick to schedule appointments and everything like that. And then we have also kind of added in some of the text lines and helplines and talk lines, UAB Crisis Line, Emotional Support Helpline, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and the Birmingham Crisis Center talk line. But like I said on the last slide, if you are in a mental health emergency, it is in your best interest to contact 911, and we would like to remind you of that. And then if you did, if there are any questions, please leave them in the chat. We're more than happy to answer them. You can email our professor, Dr. Lanzi, and she will also happily assist with questions and concerns and comments. The Mental Health Ambassadors, we have several different social media. So we have Self-Care Sunday, we have Mental Health Monday, Thriving Thursday, which is resiliency and upperclassmen, and then we have Freshman Friday and Artsy Saturday. So we have a lot of different programs going on via social media. And we also have another lovely group of mental health ambassadors who send out a weekly self-care newsletter. And if you're interested in joining that, please email Dr. Lanzi and we'll get you signed up for that. And then we would also like to just give a little plug of our other programs that we do. So we have Treat Yourself Tuesday that's coming up. And we also have Wellness Wednesdays, which this presentation is a part of. And so our next one coming up will be on healthy relationships. and we'll have one on how to help a friend and one on dark humor. And those are all the same format, where it'll be a 15-minute presentation from Mental Health Ambassadors, and it will be followed by a 15-minute guided meditation from Dr. Hurst-Wajszczuk. And so that brings us to just a little more information, because we are absolutely thrilled to have Dr. Hurst-Wajszczuk working with us. And she's been very helpful helping us practice meditation and mindfulness. And so she is following up this presentation with a guided meditation. But also please consider joining us on Mondays from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., as well as Fridays from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And that will give you some more guided meditations and Q&As with her. But if you have any questions, let us know. But if not, thank you so much for joining us, and we all hope that you got something out of it.
That was wonderful. Thank you all. That was great. Before we transition to Dr. Hurst-Wajszczuk, I just wanted to see if anyone did have questions that they would like to ask our panel of mental health ambassadors who just shared with us. Feel free to put it in the chat box. Oh, thank you. I see one from Dua. Oh, Dua saying thank you. That was really lovely. We are very thankful for you guys putting that together. And I know that was a lot of thought went into that, and a lot of really good resources. We will have this available. We're recording this, so we will post this and have this available. We started a YouTube channel today, so we will be uploading these to the YouTube channel, so you will have that available. So, Dr. Hurst-Wajszczuk.
Hi, folks. It's really good to be back with you. I love that your topic today was on self-care, because that dovetails nicely with the meditation that I have prepared. You know, I think it's so easy for ambitious, conscientious students to be really hard on themselves. And in some ways to almost view being hard on yourself as some kind of virtue. You know, if you can endure beating yourself up, well, then you must be a really great student. You know, I think that's not an unusual thought. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that kind of thinking. But I think it does keep us from being our most productive, believe it or not. You know, the energy that we spend beating ourselves up or pushing ourselves past the point of exhaustion actually ends up biting us in the end. So I would like to invite you not only to really take these suggestions for self-care to heart, but also to bring it into your meditation practice. And so today we're going to practice being gentle with ourselves. I would ask for a show of hands, and that is, how many of you say things to yourselves that you would never say to your best friend? Yeah, I'll confess too. We tend to be really tough on ourselves, even if only in our own minds. And so, like all things, we need to practice being kinder to ourselves as well. And so one way that we can do that is in our meditation practice to, every time our mind wanders, and remembering, as we talked about last week, our minds are going to wander in meditation. That's sort of part of the deal, right? Minds are created to wander, to think, to process information. And so we can use our practice to get used to being kind to ourselves every single time that happens. And so this time, as we meditate, I invite you to think of your breath as your best friend. And perhaps imagining yourself in a very crowded room, perhaps at a party where there are lots of distractions, lots of other people in the room vying for your attention. And those can be your thoughts, those can be your feelings, those can be anything you wish. But the person right in front of you that you are going to give most of your attention to is your breath. So with that, let's settle into our chairs, however you choose to meditate today. And you are welcome to close your eyes if you wish, if that feels comfortable for you. You are welcome to simply allow your gaze to lower and unfocus gently. And I invite you to bring your attention, as always, very gently to your breath, wherever you are noticing it most at this moment. Today you might notice it at your nostrils. You might notice it in the rise and fall of your breath, of your chest. You might notice it in the movement of your ribs. You might notice it in the movement of your belly or of your back. Now, your breath might be apparent to you in all of these places, but more likely than not, it is most noticeable in one of them. Allow your attention to settle there very gently, without judgment. So remembering that we are simply observing, we are not judging whether or not our breath is fast or slow. We're not evaluating whether it's deep or shallow. We're just noticing the breath at this moment with a sense of kindness, with a sense of gentle curiosity. And each time that your mind wanders, I encourage you to smile inwardly. Acknowledge whatever thought may have bubbled up. Notice if any feelings bubble up. And with great gentleness, as if dealing with a very small child, you very kindly return your attention to the breath. You may find yourself having to return your attention to the breath almost every time you breathe. And know that that is normal, and that simply returning your attention to the breath is your task right now. You might find yourself deep in a thought, not having remembered the thought even beginning. And then you might realize, oh, I must have lost my attention to my breath a few moments ago, or even a few minutes ago. If that happens, still be very kind to yourself. And again, with a gentle smile directed inward, return your attention to the breath. And if you would like, you are welcome to slow and deepen your breath by taking a long inhalation and an even longer exhalation. Seeing if you can follow that breath every millisecond of its cycle. See if you can notice that magic moment when inhalation becomes exhalation, and when exhalation becomes inhalation. A precise instant. And allow your awareness to take in the sounds around you. The feeling of the surface beneath you. And in a few moments, when you hear the bell, bring this sense of self-kindness with you.